Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Song Radio Show, Red Pill Edition. My name is Leon Jones. And in this segment, I want to talk about how societal double standards give women artificial power. So, the title of this video is Societal Double Standards Give Women Artificial Power. Now, when I talk about double standards, there are double standards that men benefit from as well. Now, the one that many men and women generally know that women are called whores for or hoes, and men are called men. This is the double standard that allows men in a man's mind to have as many women as he wants without being ostracized for it. But now, when a woman dates and has sex with multiple men, she is labeled as a whore. Now, is it fair? No. But look at the double standards that women benefit from. And these double standards are utilized in shaming tactics to marginalize men. For instance, let's talk about dating. When men and women go out on a date, who is always expected to pay the bill? The man is always expected to pay the bill. Now, when you put the ball in the man's hands where he doesn't want to pay the bill, he's shamed for it, he's labeled as cheap. But if a man asks a woman to pay the bill, then he's looked at as not being a man. In other words, men, in order to comply with the double standards that give women this artificial power, they must comply by utilizing their spending to make a woman happy. Let's talk about crime. Andrea Yates killed all 5 of her kids. She was allowed to plead insanity. Now, if I went and killed my children, I'd go to jail. Now, whenever the double standard works for the woman, you don't hear any feminists come out and say, well, hey, that's not fair, we want equality. Well, see, the problem with all these double standards is when it gives women the artificial power, it takes the responsibility away from women as well. See, in society today, men are the ones who have to be responsible. Men are the ones who have to, quote unquote, man up and grow up. This is why women, for the most part, remain children all their lives. This is why you see a lot of insecurity issues, bipolar issues. Let me give you another case in point. Sexual harassment. Well, my belief is the sexual harassment laws were designed to get men out of the workforce, because I've heard many women talk very nasty at work and nothing happened to them. Let's take domestic violence. If a man hits a woman, he goes to jail. But if it's the other way around, she might go to jail. See, women get a lot of what they want because they know how to utilize the system to shame men. And the men in power are basically simps, cucks, manginas, eunuchs, whatever you want to call them. But the men in power, they are giving women all the rites of passage, even if they haven't earned it. But you have a number of feminists who cry equality. You want to know what the real deal is? The real deal is women want traditionalism, but feminism at the same time. Now, when I talk about traditionalism, what women want, they want the man to maintain his traditional values while she does whatever she wants to do. In other words, you hear a number of women crying, well, if you tell me that I have to stay home and watch kids and cook, I'm going back to the 1950s. But if you look at it, when we wine and dine you, we're going back to the 1950s. But you women are happy when you benefit from these double standards. But we men are supposed to accept that. Let's take physical attributes. If a man is too fat, he's told by a woman he's got to go to the gym. But let a man tell a woman she's too fat, oh, well, you have to accept me for what I am. You see where I'm going with this? These double standards afford the woman all the excuses not to be responsible for what they need to do as part of a relationship. And because so many men have kowtowed to the double standards, men find themselves in the conundrum of not really understanding relationships. See, when you deal with this modern day woman, you have to understand that she's selfish, she's childish, she's insecure, she has bipolar personality disorders, she's Machiavellian, some of them are psychopaths, and you have a number of women who are heavily medicated. And if you don't believe me, you look online and see all of these double standards create these so-called unrealistic high standards that women have for men. Again, a man has to look and do his best, even for a woman who is bottom of the barrel. And the only reason why that takes place is because many men allow it. And men really have to man up and start going after the system and get in positions of power so women don't have all of this artificial power. Because in my point of view, if women are going to be equal, then they have to do equal. What women want, first and foremost, is security. We all want security, but a number of women don't want to do the work to get security. This is why when women get older, some of them get more into politics. And the reason why they get more into politics, because most women don't know about politics anyway. But a number of women get more into politics because they want to see which party is going to keep the programs around for them and which party is going to take away the programs for them. And for the most part, when it comes to women, women believe in institutions. They don't believe in families like they used to, because feminism has told women that they don't need men. Feminism has told women that they can take care of a boy just as well as a man can. Feminism has told women that they can go out and do the same types of jobs that men can do. Well, how is that working for you, ladies? It really isn't working for you. It's a bunch of bullshit that you're talking to make yourselves feel good. If you look at all the commercials, and we talk about double standards, the commercials always make men look like bumbling idiots and women look smart. Now, if we reverse the roles, there would be a problem. And look at YouTube. Double standard here. Women are allowed to voice their point of view where men have to be silent. And the way men are silenced on YouTube is if a woman doesn't like something that a man says, she'll go to the system and she is going to get rewarded by him getting his channel flag, going to get rewarded by him losing a position as an actor or a musician. Again, when it comes to the double standards, women benefit from the double standards. That's because men allow it. And I go hard in the paint on the men because men still don't understand that they are being suppressed. Many of us have this ideology that everything is all right when it isn't all right. You look back in the 60s and 70s in the black community where black men were taken out of the house because the breakdown in the black community is the black family due to the welfare state. Again, can't blame it all on the African American women, but a number of them did choose the welfare state. And what has happened, the welfare state has created nothing but ghettos and crime and single motherhood. But when it comes to the everyday man and even powerful men, let's talk about divorce. If a man cheats, he's going to be vilified for it. So he's going to have to pay for himself by way of redistributing all of his resources that he created to her because he was unfaithful. But let a woman be unfaithful, what happens? She still gets all of his assets. You see the fairness here? You see the equality here? You see, a number of women don't want equality. This is why they constantly come up with double standards that eliminate equality. Women use equality to control the narrative. Because if we had true equality, women would not benefit from true equality. Women want the benefits where they don't have to do any work. A number of them are parasitic. If you look at the system, a number of women are on government programs, affirmative action. This is why they benefit. This is why they tell you they don't need a man. You look at the false allegations of rape. If a man gets raped by a woman, nobody's going to believe him. But if a woman accuses a man of rape, there's going to be a lot of outrage. You see that double standard there? Here's another double standard. And this goes to the men who are always taken up for women who lie. If a man kills another man because a woman lied to him that another man hit her, he's going to go to jail. But what happens if it's the other way around? And the other woman gets hurt because a man calls her because she did something to him? Nothing's going to happen to that woman. But again, too many of us men are not awake. We're asleep at the wheel. Many of us don't want to get involved. Many of us don't care. But when you utilize the double standards to restrict rights of men and give more rights to the other power in the form of equality, that really isn't equality. That's suppression. And this is why many men commit suicide. You look at the child support laws. Child support will go after men who don't pay. They don't go after women. Now, there are probably some small instances where they do, but for the most part, women get custody of kids 90% of the time. And when a man knows that the mother is unfit, he still has to prove it. So he has to go through a long, arduous process to prove that the mother is unfaithful. But everybody knows that the judges and the lawyers are all for the women. Why? Because the divorce industry makes a lot of money off of men. Now, you look at sports, and I love football, but you see breast cancer being talked about, but not prostate cancer. I don't see any woman on the WNBA talking about prostate cancer. But you see NFL players wearing pink every year. Again, you look at the media. The media always portrays men as bumbling idiots, and they portray women as being smart. Now, you do anything to criticize a woman, your show goes off the air. I've seen shows where men were kicked in the balls, and it was funny. You kick a woman in the pussy. Would that be funny? No, that wouldn't be funny. If I'm out in public and a woman puts her hands on me and I'll pop her ass back, I chin check her ass, oh, there are going to be men swarming around to try to hit me up. But if society sees a woman putting her hands on me, they're going to turn the other cheek and they're going to laugh. They're going to say, look at that weak man. And see, these double standards again keep men suppressed. And men aren't seeing this because men believe that everything is okay. Now, I'm repeating myself because repetition is the mother of all skill. And I repeat myself because I want my audience to actually get the point. Because as men, too many of us are blinded. We're not thinking. And if we are, we're not thinking critically enough. All we are doing is complaining. Now, these double standards wouldn't be in place if we didn't allow them. See, really, women do not want a society that's headed by men. That is true, and it's always going to be true. And most men, what you're going to have to understand is, we're not going to go back to the 50s anymore. We're dealing with modern day women. Now, again, not all women believe in a modern day society, because there are women, if they do believe in the man being head of the household, guess what? She's ostracized. See, the narrative is to lie to women. It's to make the women who are unattractive feel good about themselves. And you know, for you pretty women out there, these double standards hurt you as well. There was a case where a woman went to the gym, was Planet Fitness. Well, she got kicked out of the gym because her body looked better than the undesirable women. Well, her body looked better because she took care of herself. Because there are also double standards amongst women. Because during these daytime talk shows, and I saw one called The Talk, the low-hanging fruit always talks about pretty women when they're not pretty themselves. Because they're ostracizing women who look good to make themselves feel better. Again, if you really look at what's going on in this country, what you see is nothing but a facade. But again, we allow the facade because we don't want to get involved. Look at college. Men are ridiculed in college. But if we ridiculed women in college, we'd be thrown out. So what's going on now? We look at everything from a gynocentric perspective. We don't have to. But the double standards are going to continue to go on until a number of men get away from the blue pill matrix and become red pill. And yes, you can be married. You can have a woman living with you if you're red pill. You just need to understand the truth about a woman's nature. You can go traveling, but when it comes to men, women are being used by men in power so they can keep their power. You look at the workforce again. The workforce is heavily stacked with women in human resources to get women into a company they never started. And it's to get men out of the company. See, what it is, too, with these double standards, a number of women are lazy. They don't want to start their own companies. They don't want to take the risk. They're happy with everything being given to them. This is why when it comes to dating, it's very hard to date these days because you have a number of women who are very undesirable, but they have these unrealistic expectations of a man. And when you don't put your foot down as a man, you run into this nonsense. And this nonsense is very catastrophic as well. It's catastrophic to your health. It's catastrophic to your pocket. It's catastrophic to your behavior. This is why a number of men are committing suicide at a much higher rate than women. Now, again, I'm not against marriage. I'm not against family. I'm not against children. I'm against the state-sponsored system that has a lot of double standards that are incorporated into it just to benefit the other gender. And when you have these double standards out here, it tilts the scale to be one-sided in the favor of women. Now, yes, back in the days, I can understand some men leaving their wives, leaving their children, and we didn't have a system in place to protect women. But once we got that system called no-fault divorce, women had plenty of opportunities to work. They had plenty of opportunities to get education. And when they got it, guess what? We still have Title IX, and we still have the same old archaic divorce laws that are in place. The feminists will not get those laws changed because they benefit from them. Again, women really don't have all this power that we think they have. They have what men have given them, and they know how to make use of this artificial power, and they can incorporate their double standards to control the narrative when it comes to societal values. Again, I am not speaking about all women because you have a number of women who are good women, but you don't hear those good women because those good women are afraid to speak up because women, for the most part, have a herd or a sheep mentality, or we call it monolithic thinking. And the funny thing about women, they don't like each other until there's a man involved. And once that occurs, this is when women start to bond with other women over their problems. See, what you have from a number of women today with all these outrageous standards is nothing but whining. Again, women have never grown up. And once they get well into their 40s, 50s, and 60s, you can see their behaviors because they are going to exhibit behaviors when you're with them. When you date a number of these older women, and I'm basically talking about women who are between 40 and 59, maybe some in the 60s, but most of the women I talk about within that age range are late baby boomers and Gen Xers, because during that time, this is when the Gen Xers and the late baby boomers experienced being home by themselves. Divorce became a little bit more prevalent. Also, going to college, having a job became more prevalent because for the most part, the Gen Xers and the late baby boomers had to supervise themselves because both parents had to work. But what has happened is once the baby boomers and Gen X individuals got a little older, they weren't disciplining their kids. They allowed their kids to run the household. Now, I'm going off tangent a little bit, but if you look at most households run by women, they're run ineffectively. Now, if you give the children over to the man, there's going to be a double standard with that. Oh, well, men don't know how to raise children. Oh, men do know how to raise children. In fact, single fathers do a lot better than single mothers. Now, again, I'm not advocating that there should be single fathers out there either. I'm advocating that there should be more families. Because if you have balance in society, you will alleviate a lot of double standards. But what women really want, and this is why you have the double standards, they really want freedom with no responsibility. That doesn't make sense. Women don't want to be traditional. Case in point, if a woman has a child and she's been a single mother and her child makes the honor roll, becomes a pro football player, then she's going to say, I did it all by myself. But now, if a woman has a child who's a failure in life, she's going to come back and say, well, that's the dad's fault. You see, that double standard right there does not allow women any type of responsibility. And the funny thing about it is the court of public opinion goes along with that. You see, when it comes to men, a lot of us create our own unfairness because many of us, what we want to do is get a woman's approval so we can sleep with them. And when it comes to a number of older men, particularly older African American men, are the biggest simps out there because they're still trying to take that old 50s and 60s thinking and apply it to dating today. You cannot do that. Today's women have a lot more opportunities because of technology. Many of them are constantly on social media, their cell phone. Many of them are constantly in college. They're constantly working. They're out where they can meet all kinds of men. And because they utilize all the double standards, that gives women carte blanche to be as picky as they are. Gives women carte blanche to be selfish. So as a man, you have to understand this. Taking the red pill and understanding the truth is going to be your only way out. It's going to be your protection. Now, there are a number of YouTubers out there who have talked about this. But when it comes to us as men, a lot of these feminist laws, feminists are encouraging men in power to continue making these laws to suppress us. The Me Too movement, the Time's Up movement. Yeah, we can go to work and not work with women, but we got to deal with women on a regular basis. And again, all women aren't bad. But you have a number of bad guys out there. Because it's the guys in power who are allowing this to happen. Because there are guys who fight like me. But there are not enough of us who fight. I could put YouTube videos out all day. I can have opinions all day. But the real truth is in the system. And women utilize the system and they get all their double standards to benefit them. Because as a man, women are not responsible. We're the ones who have to be responsible. But a number of women want equality through subsidies. Like the NBA is subsidizing the WNBA. Title IX, when it comes to education, benefits women. Again, women didn't earn any of this. Women whine to get what they want. And at the end of the day, if you look at the double standards, it doesn't help men or women. This is why you have the hookup culture. This is why men don't want to get married. But you don't see the feminists out here trying to change the system. Because if they change the system, then women wouldn't benefit. Because when it comes to feminist Marxism, the feminists aren't about equality, they're about gender supremacy. And the way they do that is to suppress men by silencing them, making accusations about them. And they do that through use of religion, government, corporations, education, and they utilize the media. Those 5 sources that give women all of the power. because those five sources drive the propaganda. Again, it's religion, media, government, private sector jobs, and education. I call them the five power conferences of society. And when you get the propaganda into those institutions, you get what you have now, because those institutions influence feminism. Why? Because the feminists have infiltrated their way in those institutions to continue the narrative of feminist Marxism, which creates shaming language and double standards. And if you don't believe me, you look around, because the propaganda is all around us. You try going out dating. You try disagreeing with a woman on one of these double standards, and you see how far you get with her. You're not going to get anywhere with her. Because again, women don't think for themselves. The system does the thinking for them, and they just comply because they're lied to each and every day that they are killing it here in society. When in actuality, strong independent women don't exist. But what does exist are weak and dependent women. Because women believe in institutions, not families. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone Radio Show right here on YouTube. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. Also subscribe to the Mind of STEM channel, where I give you a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. And you can also check out my blog talk radio shows every weekend. Talk Red Pill content. Calling numbers 215-383-5785. And I just want to say thank you for listening. Be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Always know that the sun rises in the east, sets in the west. That concludes this video. Once again, my name is Leon Jones. You have a wonderful and blessed day. And till the next time, I'm out.